Is it fair to knowingly use statistics sneakily? Because like a statistic that has come from data is valid in some sense, right? Because it's numbers, it's a manipulation of numbers. It's the context of it that will hide the sneakiness.
Yeah, you need to sort of say like this data was collected by, knocking door to door between this period in these locations or whatever. If you were doing a poll, say you need to say as much as you can about that, and then you can sort of judge for yourself. The reader can judge for yourself a little bit about, okay, well, do I think that's a good way to be gathering data, for example?
Yeah. And you know what, with advertising, you've got things like the Advertising Standards Agency, who are there to receive complaints and to look further into claims. There's some the 8 out of 10 cats prefer whiskers as a classic example of that. There was a Colgate ad, I think, a little while back, 2010, 2011, saying that number one toothpaste used, this particular toothpaste was the number one toothpaste used by dentists. But then there's an asterisk by that, which says that was based on a survey of 300 dentists between this time period. And if you dig a little further, you find that the British Dental Association is actually made up of 23,000 members. So where is it a meaningful sample?
Yeah. So I do hope that AI is going to really help in this remit. So I don't know if you've used ChatGPT-4 today, but they've just done a new upgrade where you can it'll give you the citation of where that information has now come from. So if you say, something ridiculous like which is the most preferred cat food, it will probably say it'll give you that citation of where that whiskers quote came from, and then you can look at the data yourself and blah blah. And I hope that AI is going to become much smarter, that when you read a statistic or whatever, you can ask your AI, where did that come from? Give me a bit more data about it. I don't know if you can then ask the AI to tell you how reasonable that is, and that's when it probably becomes a bit of an arms race over who controls the AI. But it's possible that in time these things will become more transparent and better.
Yes, and as you say, not just on statistics, but I find statistics, unfortunately, quite a hard word to say for this podcast, unfortunately for me.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned about AI, though. I actually use it because it's excellent in principle at summarising. And I actually fed it a whole load of reviews and said, can you summarise these reviews, qualitative reviews, like comments that people had left, and say, can you let me know what the overall is on, it matters what the prompt is. I might have said, what's typical or what's average, or can you summarise? I don't know what the prompt was exactly.
Yeah.
But I disagreed with it in the end. But it wrote a very plausible thing. And then I went back and I looked at all the reviews and I was like, that's not how I would have summarised it. But you wouldn't know that unless you sat down and looked at all the individual ones. It's quite tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still a way to go. Have you asked it about yourself?
No.
That's quite interesting, because it can come up with like completely ridiculous stuff. You're like, hang on, that's about me. No, I know that didn't happen. Or like, oh, that's cool. No, hang on, this didn't happen.
Oh, yeah, nice. I was thinking about the cats and whiskers. Do you remember there's the one like 9 out of 10 people prefer Pepsi, and I remember thinking, I think in taste tests, people generally do prefer Pepsi to Coke. What I heard, and I don't know if it's true, is that usually, because Pepsi is a little bit sweeter, you prefer it on the first taste, but if you were to drink a whole can of it, you might prefer Coke with something slightly less sweeter. Yeah. And so there it's sort of a really interesting thing where you're like, they collected the data, people said they preferred it.
It's true.
But they didn't, but maybe they only had a sip. So when, what do you actually count as a valid approximation to reality? It's quite tricky.
And I went on to the Advertising Standards Authority Agency. I went onto their website and tried to find some clear-cut numbers about what what do you call it when something's statistically significant? That's the word I was after. So I went on to the Advertising Standards Authority. Agency. I went onto their website.
Try again.
It's one of those two. ASA. To try and find a kind of set number for surveys to make any kind of advertising claim, to see if there was a set number to make those statistics statistically significant or not. And there is no set number. It's all about kind of proportionality, and
it's really irritating.
Those kind of words, reasonable claims. Well, help me define that.
And there isn't clear-cut guidance on it's got to be X number of people, because I remember going through all this when we were doing teeth whitening stuff. We're like,
really?
Can you just tell me how many people we need to have on a survey? Because I see a lot of these, as you said at the beginning, Rob, these sort of beauty surveys where there's a big advert all about L'Oreal or Estee Lauder or something, and 98% of people love this, and you see at the bottom it's like survey of 50 people. You're like, come on.
First time I started noticing that, it just made me laugh. Like, surely that can't be valid. Okay, and we don't know who those 50 people were. Did those 50 people? I don't know, and I'm not accusing any brand.
We surveyed 500 and 450 weren't so bothered, so we just chose these 50.
And did they all receive free goodie bags full of all your goods? Did
they all worked at Estee Lauder?
Did they all? Yeah, we don't know the backgrounds about any
friends
of them.
and family.
Anyway, there we go.
We're just also cynical of it anyway, aren't we?
Well, yeah, but probably rightly so, because we've been guided down this path by the likes of advertisers. Mind you, that said, I've also been guilty of looking at statistics from, again, and I've talked about this before, when I worked in an office and had a job project managing, and I would do a survey every year, qualitative and quantitative, and when I got those statistics and figures back, I was so excited to delve into them to try and find the best possible way to present myself at my end of year review from those numbers. And I loved it. It's like, brilliant. I've got this spreadsheet full of these numbers. Right.
Massive amount of data.
Let's get going. Where can I find the best statistic?
Let's get rid of that one.
Sounds like exactly. I found one here. I don't think anybody's ever reported this statistic before, but I'm now going to come up with an argument why I feel like it is a really significant statistic to present. So I am absolutely guilty of it as well.
You don't work there.
I don't. All music on this podcast series is sourced from the very talented Frank Cinelli. And you can find loads more tracks at frankcinelli.com.